Today's webinar, How to Build a Booming Dental Business in the New Economy. My name is Matt LeMaster, and I'm with Advantage Technologies. I'm Corporate Counsel and the Business Development Director. I will be your moderator today, and I also have a co-moderator. His name is Patrick, and he's with Strategic Practice Solutions. Throughout our presentation, we encourage you to interact with our speaker by typing in questions and comments using the questions pane at the bottom of the toolbar at the right-hand side. We will be answering questions live, both during the event and after the presentation. And of course, you're always able to contact us afterwards as well. Now, on to today's presenter, Tricia Casasanta. Tricia is the president of Strategic Practice Solutions. Since 2009, SPS has been providing dental practices with knowledge, skills, and personal coaching to improve revenue, leadership, staff communication, and client satisfaction. I have worked with Tricia personally. She's fantastic. She has a great deal of knowledge, and I'm excited for her today. She's worked closely with dentists. She realized that the majority of her clients didn't have the time, tools, or systems to run their practice efficiently in order to achieve their business and personal goals. So she sets out to give them those tools and the ability to run their practices efficiently and ultimately make money, especially in today's economy. This led Tricia to create the Sparkplug Dental Practice Management System. It's a unique approach that walks dentists and their staff through a series of steps for creating a system for running and growing their dental practice. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Tricia.
Thank you, Matt. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited for today. I know a lot of you have probably things that you're experiencing inside your practices and wanting to move it forward. And with today's presentation, I'd like to give you some actionable items that you can take with you and start implementing within your practice to spark that change. In today's economy, there's been so many changes that have been happening. Well, back in 1999, as many of you may remember, you could put up your shingles and just be as busy as can be. The industry started changing itself somewhere around the vicinity of 2001, and the marketplace just made it a little bit more challenging to get the new patients and getting patients to accept treatment, and also in running the practice. There's a lot of things that are involved with running a practice, so with today's session, just want to give you the big overview with some actionable items. The first thing I'm going to start with is that in the 20-plus years that we've been in business, I think one of the things that most practices struggle with is being a reactive practice or a proactive practice. Some of you may be able to relate to this. When you're dealing with a reactive practice, this is something where, you know, you run the business day to day, you just want to do dentistry, you don't want to get involved with all the politics in the office, and if you have a productive day and you're able to cut yourself a check, life is good, right? And then all of a sudden you start having some issues that start popping up, and then you react to them as they occur. Proactive office looks at things just a little bit different. They are pretty much one that's more of action and results, and they have a behavior or culture within their practice that spreads it across the team. They aim to identify and explore opportunities, and they take a preemptory approach to solving problems and anything that's coming down the pipe. So if there's any industry changes, they're already prepped for it before it actually occurs. So you would ask yourself, it only makes sense to become proactive, right? Easier said than done, right? So what we usually find that gets in the way is that the dentist just feels that they are alone. You know, they either don't have trust in a team member to delegate to, or they've delegated it to and it just doesn't get done. They may feel that they're the only ones that can get it done better and just try to put it all on their shoulders. They just simply feel it's too hard, or just may not matter if it's starting the process or not, or they just don't know how to. They know something needs to be done, they just don't know where to start or where to go with it. So as I said, many of you can relate to this. So as we're looking at challenges in today's marketplace, you have production. Okay, great. A reactive office is one that basically is going to look at production and say, okay, we're producing this amount, we're going in, these are the amount of patients that are coming in, this is the best that can happen. If things start changing in the production, they're really not aware of why it's happening or where to go with it. A proactive office pretty much might have systems in place so that they say, okay, we're producing this amount, we want to get here, and this is how we're going to get there. Another challenge is staffing, especially nowadays with more and more people becoming privy to the industry and having the World Wide Web, you need a staff that's able to look professional and also be knowledgeable to help these patients in making a buying decision. So in a reactive office, it's pretty much, hey, a position comes available, this person looks good, they look good, they seem to know what they're doing, they have a history in it, therefore, hence, let's hire them. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't work out. In a proactive office, you're going to take a look at staffing and turn it into a system. Now, here's what we're looking for, here are the skills and competencies we're looking for, and then it follows a process. Competition. All right, a reactive office just kind of becomes the victim. Hey, there's a lot of competition out there. They're going to go to the guy across the street. There's really nothing we can do. You know, we want to have more new patients, but you know, it's probably the economy. That's why we're not getting new patients. Or there's construction going on. That's why we're not getting new patients. A proactive office is going to come along and say, okay, yeah, there's competition out there, but how do we become competitive? How do we differentiate ourselves from the competition so patients come here? Regulation, policies and procedures. A reactive office may have some policies and procedures, may hold the team accountable to them, may not. In a proactive office, there are definitely policies and procedures, and they do hold the team accountable to them. Insurance, huge. A reactive office, usually in our experiences, has been, you know, our insurance covers it, and patients won't move forward because they'll only get done what the insurance will cover. You know, the insurance is basically, we're having to do a lot of adjustments. Proactive office is going to take a look at it and go, okay, wait a minute here. Is there any way that we can increase our fees with the insurance companies? Can we negotiate this out? Okay, yeah, we understand that patients have insurance, but we're going to show them that there's value, and because of the value, they're willing to pay out of pocket. And then patients. A reactive office will take majority any patient that comes in and schedules an appointment. You know, any patient is a good patient. A proactive office says, okay, yeah, we got these amount of new patients. We want maybe 60, 70 new patients a month. Yet this is the kind of patient we want. We want someone that's going to come in here and see the value, and this is how we're going to go about attracting these patients. And then there's technology. A reactive office does have technology. Are they utilizing it to the maximum capabilities that that technology can provide, such as the dental software? Do they have other materials that they can buy? Usually we find from a reactive office, it's the production that prevents them from wanting to buy more advancements in technology because of the budget being so tight. In a proactive office, they say, hey, we want this technology, this is what we know it can do, and this is how we're going to leverage it. So as you can see, the difference between reactive and proactive is that there are systems that are built into a proactive office, and those systems help guide that practice into getting to the goal. They know where they're at, they know where they're wanting to go, and they have a path in getting there. The benefits of a system have multiple benefits. Very much there's the ability to get out of the day-to-day and see the big picture. There's a saying out there, you want to work on the business and not in the business. And face it, when you're the dentist or the doctor owner, some of you may be working on patients, some of you may be overseeing a group of associates that are doing that. Whatever your scenario is, a portion of your week needs to be working on the big picture. And by having systems, it makes that process a lot easier. You want to have the ability to approach your dental practice logically, practically, and systematically. You know, a lot of times I'll go into an office and the doctor wants to purchase another instrument, or they want to hire another staff member, or they want to expand out 3 operatories. Well, they need to take a look at a series of items to see if there is a supporting revenue to back their decision. The ability to assemble and develop a team that's fully engaged and cares as much as you do. Believe it or not, there's a system for that. You need a hiring system. There's the ability to impact clear processes so everybody understands it and follows it. This is where you basically say, here's what we want, here are the policies and procedure, and we're going to hold you accountable. And the ability to spot an ideal patient. This is actually another system. Better understand what differentiates your practice. Okay, why should I go see you when there's 7 other doctors around your area? What makes you different? What stands out? And again, the ability to become proactive versus reactive. So there's 5 steps to building a booming dental practice in the new economy. You want to take the pulse of your practice, which we'll go over. You want to hire and develop rock star team members. You want to create standard systems and procedures, and embrace and utilize technology to its fullest capabilities, and make marketing a system as well. So taking the pulse of the practice. I'm just going to start this off by giving you 2 examples of what we encounter when we go into offices. There was an office where the doctor had called me and he had said that, you know, pretty much the practice was running really well. Up till about 2012, he started noticing that, you know, the hygiene department wasn't as busy and it wasn't getting filled, and his new patient count was kind of going down. So really didn't worry about it at that point. Then as more time went on, he started noticing that his schedule started getting busy, or started getting affected and less busy. And when his schedule started getting affected, his take-home started getting affected. And there were months where he said that he couldn't cut himself a check. Now, he knew something was different, but he didn't know what it was. He didn't have a good handle on the pulse of his practice. Had another potential doctor call me, known him for about maybe 8 years, and he finally called me and says, hey, you know, can we go out to lunch? I go, sure. So as we went out to lunch, he basically said, you know what, Tricia, I just feel like everything is on my shoulders. If I just feel that my production has to keep the practice running. And I can't take a vacation, because if I take a vacation, then there's no income coming in, and I can't enjoy myself on vacation. So in both these situations, we did what was an analysis. An analysis tells you where your practice is at and any hidden potentials. And believe it or not, in both of these practices, kid you not, they both had the potential of producing far more than what they were doing because they weren't leveraging the different departments that they had. So going back to the one where he felt everything was on his shoulders, in the analysis, you should have seen his face as his jaw dropped down to the ground, but we told him $650,000 right now annually in gross production. But do you realize you have the minimum capability right now as it is to produce $1,000,001? And yes, the practice did fall on his shoulders because what the hygiene department was bringing in and how they were not leveraging the recall department, everything rode on his shoulders. Everything else was at a break even. So when it says here that practices that are either performing or non-performing well, automatically in a short period of time dramatically can see an increase in production just by tracking various key performance indicators. And in both the cases that we cited for you, I'm going to take you through a little journey of some of the things that we took a look so that we were able to come up to those conclusions. As I go through this, some of you are probably already aware of some of these key performance indicators, but I would like to add a few more things to them. Okay, payroll. Payroll is the one where usually we like to see a practice coming in at 24 to 27%. Before I continue on, let me just preface. If you are not looking at your profit and loss statements on a routine basis, I would highly suggest you start doing so, because it is what's going to tell you what business system is out of whack. So, for payroll, for example, if you look at your profit and loss statement and you see that your payroll is coming in at about 24–27%, depending on how big your office is, you're doing good. If your payroll expenses are relatively higher than that, then it means your collections are not enough to support that cost. Now, accountants are notorious for this. They'll come in and say, oh, you see this coming in, now you got to downsize because you can't support this. You can't, your team you have is too much for what you're bringing in. I'm going to ask you to look at it differently. I want you to take a look at, is your collections at 98%? I want you to take a look at, is your case acceptance above 70%? I want you to take a look at your hygiene department and your doctor department, and are those performing? If your answer to those questions are no, then that means you have a lot of hidden potential that you need to work on that would suffice your payroll. Benefits are usually going to be coming in standard around 3 to 4%. Dental supplies, that's another one where you're wanting it, depending on the size of the practice, to be anywhere between 7 and 12%. If your supplies are beyond that, you may be needing to look at your inventory system and getting that structured a little bit better where you're not having too much of an oversupply. Lab bills are just like payroll. It's one of those things where you want it low, but you kind of want it high. In the lab bills, when you're taking a look at that in your line item, if you have it anywhere around 7 to 12%, this is an expense item that we want to see on the higher end, because that usually means you're doing a higher case procedure, such as crown bridge, implant crowns. So when you're looking at your lab bill, I'm also going to ask you to take a look at a report that you have in your system, and that is the category report on the types of procedures you see. If the types of procedures you see are high in crown and bridge, implant crown, or surgical, then a high lab bill is justifiable. If you take a look at the category of services and you find that those areas are low, then that would lead to me to tell you two things. One, are you doing comprehensive exams? And two, you need to take a look at your labs that you're working with to see if there is some way that you can take a look at their expenses and see if they can bring down their costs a little bit more. The rent and mortgage is going to need to come in between 5 and 7%. And collections, collections definitely you want it to be above 98%. By keeping it there, you're going to have less of a cash flow issue, and it gives you more of that financial freedom that you're looking for. Training a team to collect more than 98%, I've seen our offices go up to 110% with prepays and just higher type cases. IT expenses. This is the one expense that gets ignored the most. And let me tell you, whether you be an office where you're producing $20,000 a day, or whether you're an office that's producing $5,000 a day, regardless of it is, that is income that you're depending on. And one day without income impacts a practice no matter what size. So in an IT expense, depending on the size of your practice, you definitely want to have something in the vicinity between 2% to 5% allocated in your collections for this. I mean, look at last year. We had the floods, we had electrical outages, we had opening, and for an office to be down, or even the viruses that were going around last year, having a company such as Advantage Technology, I mean, I've been working with them for a while now. All my clients are very happy with the fact that if they're down, they're able to get up and running in a short period of time. Marketing. Okay, how many of you put money towards marketing? This is the one thing in any kind of an economy, whether it be good or bad, it cannot suffer. There has to be a certain amount of collections allocated towards marketing. And here's another way of looking at it. If other people are not marketing and you are, guess who's going to get the gravy at the end of the day? Case acceptance. This is something that I actually like tracking differently. I like breaking it down into small, medium, and large cases, and I'll explain why. When you're dealing with a small case, and that could be somewhere in the vicinity of anywhere up to $1,500. Sometimes you got some insurance coverage there, very little out of pocket for a patient. Then you have a medium case, which is somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 to about $5,000. That requires a little bit more skill because there's more out of pocket for a patient to bring out. Then when you get to the larger cases, your $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 cases, there's an emotional buy that's associated with it, and you need a team member that's very skilled, has more training in order to help that patient come to a decision. So when you're tracking these case acceptances, it tells you how well the practice is doing in getting the patient involved in identifying that they have a problem, and how well you're getting the patient involved into accepting that and accepting the solution. So normally in a small case scenario, you probably want case acceptance to be around 85%. In a medium case scenario, you're probably going to be looking at something in the range of, I would say about 70%. And then as you get into the large case scenario, you're probably going to need to bring it down about 45%. The more training that we do in this area, the higher the percentages we get. I'll give you an example. I had a client out in Howell, and they have an associate. And we were doing, it's called service category and case acceptance. So we noticed that the associate had all small cases. There were no mediums and there were no larges. So that immediately told our doctor owner that they had to work with the associate on comprehensive care and then helping the patients accept treatment. But in that particular case, there was hardly any cases beyond $1,500 that were being presented. Production per hour and production per visit are huge. I mean, probably a lot of you have heard of this already, but the way that I look at production per hour and production per visit is more like a sports team. So if you take a look at any football team or a baseball team, you have the overall stats. So go, okay, well, the Chicago Bears, they have these overall group stats. But then they also take a look at each individual player, and each individual player has its own stats. Well, a coach will work with each individual player to get their stats up, and immediately when that happens, the overall stats of the team go up. So production per hour and production per visit is what you take a look at to identify your team. Each member, where their challenges are, where their strengths are. So let's just talk hygiene for a little bit. So hygiene, depending on if you're Medicaid, PPO, or for service, should probably be in the area anywhere between 200 to, I've seen 325 per visit per hour. For your dentist, your dental owner, if you're a dental owner, you should be somewhere in the vicinity, these are national averages, probably somewhere around the vicinity of 600 to 700 production per visit. And if you have an associate where they're not seeing a lot of the higher cases, those associates are somewhere around the $400 per visit per hour. You get these stats up, then the overall performance of the practice goes up as well. Attrition is another thing you should monitor. It's something that hardly any office does, and it's because most of the focus is placed on new patient. However, we've seen offices where maybe they get 20 new patients coming in the door and they have 30 leaving the door, and that practice is definitely not growing at all. When you start looking at attrition, you need to look at why are patients leaving, and do you have a marketing strategy that helps nurture your current patient base? Because guess what? With the World Wide Web out there, even though they're your patients today, you've got another contender down the street that's trying to bring them on board. So you need to have some kind of a marketing plan to keep the patients you already have, and you need to identify reasons why patients are leaving. I can tell you right now, it's not a lot because of you don't accept their insurance. In the surveys that we've done with patients, at the top of the list, you guessed it, is that they were dissatisfied with the follow-through of the office or the experience they had in the office. That was the top of the list. Insurance, moving out of the area, deceased came in after that. The top one was follow-through and their experience. Recall. It's amazing to me how recall, which is the bread and butter of the team, it's kind of like the Kindle for the fire, gets put on the shelf and taken off the shelf throughout the whole year. I've seen offices where, okay, hygiene is down, okay, someone's got to work recall, so they work recall, hygiene gets busy, doctor gets busy, and then recall goes down. Then, oh my gosh, there's openings in the schedule now, recall. There's no consistent energy on recall, and that is the one advice I would ask all of you to do is make sure you run your recall reports, identify how many patients are way past due, and making sure you have a team member that is assigned to this process. Marketing or ROI is another thing. By managing your marketing ROI, some of you may be marketing out there, some of you may not, I'm not quite sure. If you are, you really want to make sure what is the return on your investment. We had one client, they were spending, I believe, $3,200 a month on a marketing medium, and only to find out they're barely breaking $1,000 a month in revenue from the results of the energies. And that's money that you can be putting towards another marketing strategy. So, step 2, hire and develop a rock star team member. Well, my take on this is that your team can be your most valuable asset, and it can also become your liability. I know we've all been privy to making a wrong hire. We all know what devastation it can cause on us emotionally and financially. But how much would hiring, or what would the cost be if the practice hired the wrong person? Now, The research that's out there says 60,000. Yeah, some of you might say that is ridiculous. This is a dental office. There's no way we're going to lose $60,000. I'm going to say, okay, let's take a look at it. So let's say you have a family of 5, and in that family of 5, it probably runs that they're going to average somewhere in the vicinity of about $400. So after the $400 annually, you have to figure, okay, wait a minute, they're going to be patients for the next 5-6 years, right? So now you lose the revenue for that family for the next 5-6 years. So each year you're losing a potential revenue of $2,200 roughly. Well, I'm pretty sure some of those family members have referred someone to you, and people talk. So if they're not happy with how they are with you, they're going to tell their referring families. And then what if those families end up leaving because of their experience with the practice or because of that in addition to talking to the referring source? So you can quickly start seeing how it can be costing you into $20,000, $40,000 just for that alone. Let's take a look at the wrong hire at the front desk. What if they're not able to convert an inquiry call into a visit? That's lost revenue right there. Let's say the front desk isn't capable of helping the patient move forward with accepting treatment. That's lost revenue right there. Let's say they forget to book a treatment that was rendered. Or let's say they forgot to collect the money that's now in collections because we didn't collect on it. There's a whole slew of things that are up at the front desk that are in charge of the collections department that definitely can impact you. I mean, how many offices do we have to go to that at the end of our analysis that they have no choice but to write off the debt? So there's also hidden costs when you're looking at this, or the intangible ones, and that is the team. You know, a lot of times we call them the toxins of the team or the cancer of the team. It just takes one person to basically go in and infect the rest of the team. And it brings down the team morale, and it brings down their performance. So as you can quickly see, a wrong hire can definitely cost a practice $60,000, if not more. A hiring system is pretty much what I'm going to be recommending. Kind of go over some of the pieces to the hiring system. First thing you want to do, any position that you're looking for, really review it and get some insight as to what do you think the competencies and skills are required. Does it need a person that is a problem solver? Does it need a person that can build relationships? Does it need a person that's good at presenting and getting patients to accept treatment? So really identify those competencies. Then you're going to build a profile and create a job description. And I am all for job descriptions. The job descriptions we do have measurables. I'm going to recommend that to you. One thing that we found by talking to team members, they want to know what it is that you expect from them. And they want to know how to measure their success. Now, again, there's going to be team members that could care less because guess what? Those are the ones that want to fly underneath the radar and go in and do bare basics. The ones that want to know what you expect of them are the ones that want to rise to the challenge. So a job description gives the employee or the potential employee what it is that you're all about, what's expected of them, and how you're going to measure them in their position. You're going to go out and source and recruit. This is where you may kind of get a sales rep from a company or a supply company to be on the lookout. Maybe that you might be using some of the job boards to attract talent. And this is something that you may want to keep going on a quarterly basis because you never know with the practice growing if you're going to need to bring on more talent or if somebody is leaving the area and you need to replace that talent. Interview and selection process is the same way. Another thing that we do is we have specific skills tests for our administrative team, hygiene team, associate team. The reason for this is that we want to know their philosophy and how they approach things. And then we also have a standardized interview process where when you're interviewing, you ask specific questions that are critical to your practice. And then you basically identify and say, okay, which ones are we going to move over to the second phase? Then you need to do reference and background checks. It is a must. I know some offices say, hey, you know what, they interviewed very well, I don't need to do a reference check. Highly recommend that. I'm going to give you one thing to ask when you do a reference check. In doing a reference check, ask them on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being phenomenal, how would they rate that candidate? Anything below a 5, you follow up with a question that says, what would make them a 5? You will be surprised at what you will find out. It causes the person you're asking to really think about it, and they ad lib tell you what are the things that would have made that person a 5. Working interviews are great if you can schedule them. Having them work with your team and identifying how they are as far as their disposition, how well they work with your current team, and then having someone on your team evaluate their work is great. Performance reviews. I know, you want to do dentistry, you don't want to do performance reviews. Well, hopefully you have an office manager that'll do this. But if it's something that you do, is something that I think is critical, you need to really take away from the day-to-day, work on the business, and say, is this a person that I want to invest in my company or my practice, because they are going to be my most valuable asset. And taking that time to do that will only make your life so much easier in the long run. You agree on a salary and benefit, and then you have them go through an orientation process once hired in. Now, step 3 is creating standardized systems and procedures. I'd like to share with you at this time something that we do when we engage with practices that I thought was a really vital tool, and that is we do confidential meetings with the team. This is where we sit down with them, we say, okay, tell us about the practice. What do you like about it? What do you think are some of the challenges with it? And we tell them that it's confidential. The only time we bring it to the doctor owner is that if we see that there is a unanimous pattern that's appearing that we feel that the client should know. And in all of that, we found out from the employees over and over again, they look at leadership. They want consistency in leadership. They want consistency in their business systems. And that all plays a role on how he or she views their position in the practice. Just last week, I was at a coaching session at an office, and I was talking to the doctor, and I noticed one of their lead administrative people, she was just kind of like disconnected. She pretty much was making comments of, I've checked out. You know, I used to work at an office, and they had all these expectations of us, and we knew if we did our job, if we didn't do our job, we would get fired. They just need to be more structured here, and they have to be really more holding us accountable. And then basically saying, you know what, I'm just tired. So in recognizing this used to be a superstar, I mean, I'm talking about a girl that came into work, enthusiastic, did her job, did it well, hard worker, to come to this part of her stay with the practice, something was wrong. So the doctor gave me permission to talk to her. And in doing that, basically she agreed. She goes, you're right, I did disconnect. And here are the reasons why. She felt underappreciated because whenever she did a good job, no one told her. And the second thing is there are inconsistencies in their business systems. The doctor would come to her and say, well, you know what, the schedule's not filled, you got to fill my schedule. And then all of a sudden she'd fill the schedule, and then he'd come back and say, well, wait a minute here, you're crazy, they're scheduled in crazy. So there's really nothing that she could do to make him happy. The big one was their collection. They had a policy where when they were doing adjustments, he had wanted her to follow a process. Well, she would follow the process, the patients would get upset, they'd go to the doctor, and then the doctor would cave in, and she just felt like the doctor just was not having the back of the front desk. So, you know, at another office, this just goes on and on and on, where they just feel there's a common theme that occurs. The team members have an increased stress and unhappiness when they're unaware of what is expected of them, what their role is, or how are they performing. You know, one day they're told that they are responsible for certain things, but then they get reprimanded when something didn't get done by another team member. That's an HR system. Inconsistencies in how they're being told to process claims, adjustments, posting checks. So one day it's one way, another day it's another way. It's one way for one patient, it's another way for another patient. These are business systems and policies. They're confused when the dentist gets upset that daily production hasn't been met, it's low. Then they go ahead and fill the schedule, and then the doctor gets upset because the schedule is crazy busy. This is a scheduling system. And then there's inconsistencies in how team members are treated. Okay, management system. Okay, now that I've shared with you how a team member looks at, let's take a look at your position. You know, as a doctor owner, you want to find it in dentistry, you just want to go in and do dentistry. At least most of you do. At least that's what I'm told. But you become stressed when the practice falls short of the goals. You're pulled into day-to-day operations. you're unable to check or to cut a check for yourselves for a few months, and in some cases I've had doctors that for several months. You feel that you've lost control of the practice, and sometimes some of the doctors feel that they're at a point in time in their lives where they want to cut back on the amount of hours they work, and they cannot without jeopardizing their income. There's no work-life balance. And doctors become frustrated in a team that's not motivated and feel the success of the practice falls solely on their shoulders. It just doesn't have, there's just not enough for the retirement fund, because some of you might be looking at that at this time, not quite sure. So the only way to show balance in this, I'm going to tell you right now, are business systems and procedures. Yes, they take some time to develop. Nope, they're not done in one day or a month or 2 months. They're gradually implemented into the system. And they are essential building blocks for your practice. Every aspect of your business, from marketing efforts to the collections, is a part of a system that can be managed and improved by applying correct principles and training. Some business systems are the things that we've mentioned, customer service, inventory management, accounting, payroll, sales conversion. These are all systems within a bigger system. Step 4, my favorite, embrace and utilize technology. Okay, we know we got some techies out there. So advances in dental technology have really moved dentistry in a long way. I mean, even when you take a look at when we used to go from just doing bridges to now having the ability to provide implants for our patients. I mean, that's uncanny. It offers better solutions for the traditional oral health problems that we've seen. It helps both you as a clinician in that it minimizes your time so that now your production per visit goes up, and it's beneficial for the patient because, face it, a lot of us have limited time. The 40-hour work week or the 35-hour work week that used to be a long time ago are gone. Patients are working more than 40 hours. They're working long hours. They're working from home, and they also have kids to cart around. So the more that we can utilize technology to do same-day dentistry or one-day dentistry has been a huge push in dentistry. Even the CIRAC, before they used to have to come back, 2 days in 2-day visits to prep the crown, and then all of a sudden have them come back, and then you needed a lab technician. Now you don't need dentistry. So there are a lot of advancements in this. I think one that I really, really want to address right now, and it's huge to me, is dental software. You probably have different softwares out there. I know the one that's most prominent in the field right now is Dentrix. And I have a client right now. They have a huge team, and they're not utilizing that software to its fullest potential. In fact, even in today's dentistry, they actually had an article just basically stating how the softwares are being underutilized by 50%. So most of you are probably using it for what? Scheduling, confirming appointments, account management. I don't know how many of you are using the practice management portion of it, but just think of, let's say, Dentrix, for example. The client that I was looking at his expense report, and I found out that he had all these third-party sources for smile reminders. He was having another outside source for, I think, their account management, and they were also paying the team extra money to put data entry in, when all he had to do for a fraction of the cost is utilize his software. So right now, he's now using his Dentrix program. Get this. Patients go online, they fill out the registration forms, at a flick of a button, it automatically gets downloaded into Dentrix, no data entry by the team, and no errors other than the ones that the patient puts in. Medical dental histories, they're in the waiting room, they have their tablets, they're filling them out, automatically downloads in there. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with software, but especially with Dentrix, when you have a scanned document, it requires a huge amount of memory. And as that happens, it slows down the system. So to recover a patient's account takes longer. By just utilizing these features in Dentrix, it keeps the speed of the system up so that when you're doing checkout with the patient, it's more efficient and faster and less wait time for the patient. There's another feature to it in that when it's confirming, it can send out a text. And as the patient texts you back, you have the ability to retext them. And the huge feature that I like, and again, there's a margin of error because every system is as good as the information in it. There's a feature in Dentrix where they can qualify the benefits for the patients that are scheduled that day, so you don't have to pay an administrative person to be on the phone waiting forever and a day just to get verification of benefits. So huge, huge, huge. This is another area that I would highly recommend taking a look at your software systems and seeing how much of that software system is capable of doing so that you can minimize the amount of admin time on the system. Step 5 is make marketing a system. A lot of times I see offices where they want somebody internal to do marketing. Marketing requires a special skill, and especially in the economy today and in the marketplace today, you definitely need a source to go to that understands SEO optimization, understands HubSpot, understands how to nurture your current base. So you really need to start having some other source to go to because a lot of who is in dentistry, where have we gone to school for marketing, right? So marketing is the lifeblood of your dental practice. Just like running your dental practice, we believe that creating and implementing a systematic approach is really essential. There are 5 steps to making a marketing system. Step number 1 is understand your current situation. We believe that the first step is to look at where you are and where you would like to go. Very much back to being a reactive office and going to a proactive office. You want to know where it is that you're wanting to go, but you need to understand where you are today. Performing an in-depth marketing audit will force you to look at what marketing activities you are currently engaged in, what revenue is coming in from that engagement, your local competition, and your marketing conditions. It will also take you a closer look at your goals and help you define them specifically and realistically. It finally gives you that one time where you are stopping working in the business, working on patients, to look at your practice and go, okay, take a deep breath. This is where I would like to go, and here's how I want to get there. So it's really critical that we take the key performance indicators that we talked about before, and you take a look at where they are now and where they want to be. And that makes you now the beginning steps of becoming a proactive office. Okay, take a look at your monthly gross production. After the seminar, figure out what is your average gross production. Where is it at? Where would you like it to be? It causes your brain to start thinking about what other steps need to happen to get you there. Look at your percentage of scheduled utilization. Okay, are you utilizing the system today? What is the average hygiene production schedule per day? And what is the average doctor production schedule per day? Where would you like it to go? Then your brain starts thinking about how do you get there. Looking at the number of monthly leads and new patients. So, okay, how many new patients are you having now? Where are they coming from? And where would you like it to be? And where would you like it to come from? How many of those leads that come in actually convert into an appointment? And how many of those actually accept treatment? Where are your lead sources coming from? Is it all referral? Is it referral and ROI? Is it referral, ROI, and maybe some event that you did at a local school? Where are they coming from? And what is the case acceptance in the small, medium, and large categories? What is your marketing budget today? Do you have one? Again, if you don't have one, I highly, highly suggest that this is something you take a look at. Number of referrals. Where does the number of referrals that you are getting from your practice today, and where would you like to go? I have one client, their goal is to get one referral from each family by the end of the year. How many patients do you retain? Are they happy with the current system that the practice is? Are you basically marketing how you are, and is the day-to-day operations backing your marketing message? Number 2, pinpoint your ideal patient and create buyer's persona. Now, many dental practices try to be all things to all people. Wouldn't that be great? But in reality, you can't make one person happy by being one way and hope that it's going to make another person happy. So you have to narrowly define the market segment. Again, I stress, narrowly defined. Be very laser focused on what is the market, target market that you're looking to bring on board as your patients. You don't necessarily have to set out to be all things. It just kind of sort of happens that way sometimes with lack of focus and understanding. While it may seem like growth to take on a new patient that may not fit your target audience is a good move, how many of you have taken on new patients that occupy a lot of your time? How many of those patients just make your life miserable? You see them on the schedule and you just want to run the other way. Actually, your team's right behind you. How many of those patients take away from the good patients and take up their time so you're running late behind with the good patients? You know, all in all, the experience is not as favorable and isn't really proactive for the practice when you really take a look at it. So most dental practices are best suited to serve a narrowly defined market segment, you know, the sweet spot. This doesn't mean the sweet spot that won't grow. I mean, it will evolve and change altogether with time. But at any given time, there exists a set ideal patient that you need to be focusing your marketing energies towards. It's critical for the growth of your practice that you identify your ideal patient and develop a plan for how to attract more of them. Okay, there's the question. How do you attract more of them? Everything you do from a marketing standpoint, your website, your in-office experience, must be based in a firm understanding of your ideal patient's needs, their wants, their pains, their frustrations, for you to move forward with their goals. Step number 3, understand your brand and define your core difference and market position. Branding is crucial to the success of your dental practice. You don't need millions of dollars to effectively create a positive brand experience that delights your patients. You know, just take a look at your branding. Your message, your visual elements, are they in line with what you resonate with your ideal patient? If not, you just might want to take a tweak or change it completely. So here's a powerful exercise. Another thing I want you to do after this presentation is go to your offices and take your brand material, your business cards, your letterheads, your envelopes, your flyers, your invoices, everything that a prospective or current patient will receive from you. Is it consistent in look and message? Many times over the years, these elements get forgotten, they get tweaked and changed, but they play a huge role in communicating your brand both internally and externally. Pay attention to the font, the color. Is it consistent? You'll notice that there's slight changes here and there. Relate to branding is differentiation. So what really sets you apart from your competition? Why should I go to you versus as the 7 doctors that are around you? That matters to an ideal patient. So the things you need to do is identify and develop a simple message, kind of like your elevator pitch. Define and analyze the competition and develop positioning strategies based on marketing opportunities. You know, they have brand audit. Review your brand and graphic look. Do your current graphic elements accurately communicate your brand? Believe it or not, there's studies out there on various colors, fonts, archetype that help to position you as how you're different from the rest and help to brand your message. Number 4, audit and map your patient's experience. Huge. We recommend that you create a patient experience map to identify every potential touch point and corresponding market, from the inquiry, from the time that they see an ad, they hit your website, to the time that they visit you and have procedures done. In doing so, you'll identify content, products, services, and other touch points that may not yet exist. So this map becomes an important guide for you to build future efforts on. We use a tool called the Marketing Hourglass. The Marketing Hourglass is on the screen here. It's a way for a lead to become a patient. That patient becomes a referral source in the community. So there's 7 stages a referral development and corresponding touch point happens. So for example, the no. You know, they probably got something from you in the mail, and they want to know more about you, and it leads them to your website. They go to your website and they start learning more about you, and they're starting to like you. Part of your marketing plan means that they get routinely hit with newsletters or any events that you're doing. So now they're starting to trust you. And you might be having an offer in your practice to comprehensive exam or whitening for life or whatever promotion that you're doing. And they're saying, you know what, I'm going to try them. And then they meet you and they have the experience and they go, gosh, you know, I'm ready to buy more from them. And then they're going to continuously repeat that experience and then they're going to refer other family members and friends to you. The key is to systematically develop touch points, processes, and product service offerings for each of the phases of the decision-making process. Know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer. So due to our time restraints this afternoon, I can't get too far into the marketing hourglass as much as I'd love to, but I will tell you that it's a very powerful tool. If you like additional information on the marketing hourglass, just shoot me an email and I'll send you the ebook on it. Step 5, make selling a system too. I know a lot of you might have issues with sales, so I like to look at it as you and your team are the patient advocate. You are the person that helps the patient identify what their needs are. And you're the person that through a Q&A process help the patient identify what is the obstacles, or what is it that that procedure would do that would change their life, and what are some of the other buying decisions or decision makers in the process. So if somebody's having a veneers on the total anterior, who are some of the other decision makers, what are the budget, and what is the time frame that the patient is looking for. And this is a systemized approach that we teach in our core case acceptance guide course, in teaching the providers how to effectively help the patient become part of that whole process. Because when that patient understands that they have a problem, they are also wanting to be part of the solution, and your team members are in a position of an advocate to help them to do that. It basically gives them a way to determine the patient's true needs. They understand communication styles. So for example, I would talk to one person one way because maybe their priorities and needs are different than patient number 2. But because I'm able to flex my personality to match theirs, that's critical because that's how we build bonding and rapport. We want to earn their trust in order to take them through the process. So this is something also that if you're wanting more information on, we can become more, just definitely email me and I'd be more than happy to share that with you. Either one of these processes that we've talked about will definitely spark a change. And I know this is a lot of information that we have presented to you today. I don't expect you to implement every single one of them. My best advice for you is just take 1 or 2 or 3 items from today, place it on the schedule, and make sure that in that month you're dealing with that. Now, some of you may not have an idea of where to start. So what I would like to do, because I am in this industry for a reason. I am here to change, to help, and to spark change. And I've done that in every single office that's engaged with us. So at no obligation to you financially, if you go visit the website that we have posted on the screen here, there is a complimentary dental practice assessment. When you go on that site, it'll send you information on how to get the assessment. And what we will do is review it, give you an idea of where the pulse of your practice is, and give you 3 actionable items to work on. And that's something that you can work on your own, or if it's something that you want assistance with, we can help you with that. But either way, at least you'll know where a starting point is.
Hey Tricia, I know we're running out of time. This is Patrick. I do have a couple of questions that have come through. I know we've got about maybe 4 or 5 minutes left. I'm going to try and condense them down to the 2 or 3 most frequent questions. Let's just put it that way. You're just wrapping up the marketing piece. A couple of questions came through about the biggest marketing challenges that you're seeing in dental offices today. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
The biggest one that I see right now is allocating the responsibilities of the marketing to a dental team member and it just not getting completed because of whether lack of knowledge or poor results, and it doesn't go anywhere. That seems to be the most challenging thing that I see in the marketplace right now. Or they're having a marketing strategy, but it's not bringing in the return on investment. That would be the other.
Okay. Another one that came through earlier was, I always thought our hygiene department could be doing better. Any suggestions on how to improve that area of the practice?
I would go back and take it to the production per visit and production per hour. If the production per visit and hour are way below 200, 225, or even 250, that is something that's telling you something's wrong in that department with that provider. And it could be something along the lines of either being a scheduling issue. It could be along the lines of how the hygiene department may be inconsistent in the way that they're diagnosing various items, and or it can be because of case acceptance. So in something like that, whoever wrote that, if they wanted to go ahead and fill out the practice assessment, that's something that I can identify through that assessment and figure out which one of those variables are involved in that.
Okay, I guess looking at the time, one more here. I don't have a lot of time. If I were to do one thing that you recommended today, which one thing should I do to get a better sense of how my practice is performing and how I can improve my practice?
The first and foremost thing, and this is something that I even do with our own clients, is for the person to take a pulse of the practice. Really understand how all the departments are running, where are the KPIs today, and then that will help them identify which areas they're going to want to work on first that'll have the most dramatic impact on the practice, and then working on those particular items.
Fantastic. This is Matt. Tricia, that was some great information. I'm going to take some stuff home with me as well. Thank you so much for that presentation. I think we do a lot of webinars. We do one a month here at Advantage Technologies. A lot of them have been on technology. Others have been on HIPAA compliance, regulations. I've been waiting for this webinar for a long time. I'm so happy that we were able to help some offices out, learn how to build their business and make more money. So again, thank you so much on behalf of Tricia, Advantage Technologies, and myself. I want to wish you a good day. If you have any questions, any further questions, please feel free to send them to us. I do have a couple action items here from questions on the board still, but we're going to go ahead and end the presentation for today, and you will be receiving a follow-up email with the recording of the webinar as well. So thank you very much, everybody.